Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Is he far from home? Web. You betcha. He's in London.
Shoots him in the face with his web shooters.
Look, I promised you last week that we wouldn't do musicals, but Angus is...
Spider-Man, far from home. Here we go. Hey team, Angus Strachan here. Welcome to the Film Slice Podcast. I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Candy Wiggly K-Dogs, and the man formerly known as Brody Doo Broadman Richards. This week, he is known as... Poita Porker. Specifically in that accent.
Just chuck a couple of W's in there and you're fine.
Poita
Porker. This week, we are reviewing Spider-Man Far From Home, the sequel to Homecoming. They really kind of messed that up, didn't they?
They did.
They probably should have gone Far From Home and then Homecoming.
No, well, the next one's going to be Homecoming 2.
Ah, right. That makes sense then.
Next one's going to be Coming Home again.
All right, K-Dogs.
Yep.
Whip out that IMDb summary. Let's get this potty on the go.
All right.
Whip.
Following the events of Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man must step up to take on new threats in a world that has changed forever.
That's it. Step up or step off, Spider-Man.
Forever. When you see the movie, what did you think? Do you like the movie? None of the shit.
K-Dogs, when you see the movie, what do you think?
I saw it Friday night.
Friday night.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was very much in like the middle tier of Marvel films. I think it was okay. Did some things really well, but also played it really, really safe in a lot of circumstances.
In the lingo of the kids these days, totes agree. Poita Porker?
Poita says... that
Poita loses it!
will only be referring to Poita in the third person for some unknown reason.
Can't wait for that.
Peter saw it this morning. And Peter had very, very low expectations.
Yeah.
Incredibly low, as he did not care at all about any Marvel movies after Endgame, because that was pretty much an ending of the story in his mind. And so, with such low expectations, he came out enjoying a film and thinking that it was actually pretty good.
They're good. There you go. I'm leaning more towards Cane Dogs. I would say this film is extremely safe. Not really a lot.
And if you want to know more about that, head over to Strachan, Angus' YouTube channel, where he's already chucked up his review.
That's it. I've already done it. You don't need to listen to this again. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to waste my breath.
See you later, Angus.
Lads, every week I put up on Instagram, Broadman's on the tweets.
Twitter.
And Cane Dogs does Facey.
Yeah.
And we put up what movie we're reviewing, and normally no one replies.
Bit of a mishap going on with the Twitter. Our Twitter was banned from some... maybe some not so savoury tweets that were made on the part of us.
What have you been saying?
No, it's banned. It's off the internet, you can't find out. Anyway, it got banned, so we had to make a new one. So the new one is at Ashton Butcher. You can tweet us at Ashton Butcher as much as you like.
Cool. All right.
And what sort of things can we expect from Ashton Butcher?
Oh, just
the same film size.
Just sexist and racist comments.
Harsh racial comments.
Cool. All right. So that's an update on the Twitter. Instagram, we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hey.
Okay, how many do we have not including Brody's 5 other accounts?
Bro didn't comment on this one.
Whoa!
This is from not.filmslice.host.
That is Brody.
He says, I'm guessing you lads and Fappo are reviewing Valentine's Day with Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah, that's a coincidence.
Okay.
Hooverman91 replied to that saying at not.filmslice.host. What the hell? It's obviously Spider-Man, you idiot.
I love that
Even Fappo would have gotten that one.
I don't like that you're talking to yourself and also I've become a part of this.
Replying to Hooverman is not.filmslice.host saying
Is
at
all 5
Hooverman,
comments just Brody talking to himself?
says at Hooverman91. Well, sorry for making a simple mistake. Go flap yourself, you punk bitch. And replying to not.filmslice.host is Hooverman91 saying at not.filmslice.host. Just an emoji with the middle finger up.
So can I just be clear?
Yep.
At this point, Instagram is as redundant as Twitter.
No, because that's not the only comment we got.
Okay.
The next comment we got is from long-time listener Connor Kelly.
Hey.
Hoover Man
the
91.
legend, the man, the myth, the legend, Connor
myth,
Kelly.
and the legend.
He says, haven't seen it yet, boyos. I'm away at the moment, but want to see it when I get home.
He's always doing
Turns
things.
out he's far from home.
Far from home?
Oh, well, we should be excited on his homecoming. No, that's the first one. Yeah.
We're reviewing your holiday.
Spider-Man.
Let us know and we'll tell you how it went.
He goes on to say, should be around for a good few reviews over the summer, though. So get excited.
Ooh.
All right. And we also have, Cane Dogs, you mentioned that I've got a YouTube channel, and I put up my review on YouTube, spoiler-free review. We actually got a comment from that, from the Film Don, who seems pretty legit.
Okay.
Because that's what he named himself, so
Yeah,
why wouldn't you be?
You can't just make up those names.
No,
That's it. He says, this was such a refreshing movie following Endgame.
Was it, though?
John, you don't disagree with the Don.
Don't disagree with the
don't
Don.
disagree with the Don.
I won't be here next podcast. I'm going missing.
That's it. All right. That was it from my socials. Cane Dogs.
Right, cool,
Anyone
yeah.
hit you up on Facey?
Yeah, we got a bunch on Facey.
Ledge.
Facey time, not FaceTime, it's different.
So first we got from Orion Slewinski. Allowed it first try. It's okay. The humor for me didn't land most of the time, and the premise in part is just Incredibles, but in Europe. The romance is lame, and doesn't feel at all earned to me, since it still don't know how much about this version of MJ and why they even like each other. My big thing is that they didn't really feel like much of a Spider-Man story. It felt like you could have plugged any MCU hero into this and it would have basically been the same. We got Jesse Richards saying, seeing this today. Woo! That was 2 days ago, and he never came back.
He never did anything more.
He never came back. He just told us that he was.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's nice.
Ethan Dean says, that Brody host is terrible. You should fire him. To which I straight up agree. And that's a conversation we'll have after this. That's a conversation we'll have after.
This is the first time...
Pointer, please, we'll talk about it later.
This is the first time a host has been negative towards another host on this podcast. and I will not stand for this.
No, Nathan Clinic says, I don't recall him ever really liking MJ this much. It was sort of all of a sudden. All over the movie was okay. If you're an MCU fan or a Spider-Man fan, go see it. Otherwise, just wait till it's on a streaming service. From a Michaela, I loved it. MJ and Peter's relationship was just, and then to love heart smiley face, the smiley face emoji, but with love heart eyes.
Very nice.
But I also think they did really well following where Endgame left off. And then lastly, but not leastly, we also have, if I can find out how to get into the messenger on this Facebook page, Caitlin O'Donnell, who says, I really enjoyed Spidey. Spoiler. Look, let's put this in later, I guess. The start of it was dull. Anyway, that's what we got from our slices on Facebook.
Nice. Sweet. All right. Thank you, Slices Slices. Thanks, Cane Dogs. Thanks, Pointer. And thanks, me, most of all.
Round of applause for Angus.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll edit that one in. Sweet.
I love that that's what you edited in. Just two people clapping slowly.
Cool. All right. Would you recommend it? Who would you recommend it to? Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah. That's me.
Scissors. I chose scissors. What are you choosing?
Rock.
Oh, fuck.
All right. K-Dogs, go for it.
Yes. I love audio-based rock, paper, scissors.
I always lose.
Look, I think this is pretty easy to say. If you are still on board with watching all of these MCU films, then it wouldn't make sense to stop and not watch this one. Obviously, it's going to make sense to watch this. If you, like a lot of us, though, I think, watched Endgame and went, that's a perfect bow for, like a perfect neat little bow for me to just leave the world.
Totally.
Then you could probably afford to not watch this. And at this point, probably just pick and choose the ones that interest you. If you don't want to be as invested, you can probably afford not to be.
Definitely. Those worried about superhero fatigue don't watch this one because I don't think it's necessary in the major like arc of the universe.
If you're loving
as well.
Spider-Man, there's a lot of things. It's like the post-credit things that we'll get into that will affect the world, but
again, you can see those in like the next movies kind of thing.
or
So
on
it's
YouTube,
like, yeah.
If you like Spider-Man, see this.
It's fine.
If you're a bit fatigued by the super films and you want to take a break, you can afford to.
All right. Well, let's bloody get into it then, shall we?
Absolutely.
All right, everyone holding hands. On the count of 3, we jump. 1, 2, 3.
Scissors!
Spoilers!
Oh, what a cool sound effect, Angus.
All right, we're in the spoiler section where we dissect and divulge everything about the film. You've been warned. Cane Dogs, Poiter, thank you for joining me here on the podcast today.
That's okay.
We'll start off with, actually, Cane Dogs, did you want to pull out Miss O'Donnell's spoiler
go through
stuff?
it again.
Yeah.
All I did, read it.
We're calling this segment O'Donnell. Oh, damn!
Here's to you. I'm just going to read the whole thing again.
Yeah, go for it.
Alright, so the message from Caitlin O'Donnell that I couldn't address because it had some... fuck's sake. So the message we got from Caitlin O'Donnell that I couldn't address because we weren't quite at spoilers yet is as follows. I really enjoyed Spidey. Peter Tingle is the best thing and Tom is a fantastic actor. The start of it was a bit dull, to be honest. TBH is what she's written. But I like how they had Peter bumping into invisible things early on and hinting at things. Second half was much better than the first half, and I think it bridged the aftermath of Endgame really well. I'm keen to see how they move forward with him now being exposed.
Dun, dun, dun. So she's speaking about right at the end of the film. Is it the the first post-credit?
Last post-credit scene.
Yeah. Something which
It's
feels like
the
it
last
should have been at the
It's
end
the
of the
first-
film.
It's the
It is the first one, isn't
or
it?
is it just the end of the film?
It's after the first credit sequence.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
the first post-credit
so the first
sequence.
post-credit sequence, basically, Mysterio just kind of Snapchats the fact that Spider-Man's Peter and Peter killed him.
I don't think, first of all, I doubt Mysterio's...
Probably not Snapchat. He didn't have a filter on.
I doubt Mysterio's dead for that exact reason because he wouldn't have anything to gain from doing that unless he was alive.
I thought it was the scientist dude that took all of the imagery.
It's the scientist dude that did it, but it was still Mysterio's plan, and I don't think it would make sense for Mysterio to be dead and do it.
I reckon he's definitely dead because that's what Disney likes to do to all of their villains.
All of their great villains, and Jake
Yeah,
Gyllenhaal
true.
definitely isn't coming back for this.
Yeah, unless they're working towards like a Sinister Six movie or something.
I think it's the kind of thing where it's just like anyone can be Mysterio. You just need the tech
Yeah, true.
type of a deal.
Just bring Bruce Campbell back from the Sam Raimi. You guys probably know that Bruce Campbell was meant to be Mysterio. What was I going to say? Yeah, I don't care about that at all because at the end of the first Spider-Man Homecoming, we got the exact same cliffhanger with Aunt May being like, "You're Spider-Man? What the f-" And then it paused. And then they never addressed it. And instead of that being a cliffhanger, they just went,
just fine
"She's
now."
cool with it now."
Yeah.
So they didn't even give us like the conversation that happened there. They just went, "There's the cliffhanger," and then we got 6 movies in between that, and now the next, because I was waiting for it to like, you know, to be. I'm like, how are they going to do this? Are they going to go back in time and show us how that conversation went, and then cut forwards?
Yeah.
Nah, she's fine with it. Maybe they had a conversation. We don't know. And I know that there's going to be a bunch of movies in between, and this and another Spider-Man. Including probably in Avengers. So by the time we come back around to addressing this, it'll just be like Iron Man, where some people, like, nobody cares. Maybe he'll be famous, maybe he won't be, but I don't think it'll have any real effect on whatever they do next.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you want to jump into Cinema Dick?
Let's whip out our cinema dicks. What? What? All right, who'd like to start off with their cinema dicks?
Taking photos with the flash on still fucking grinds my gears.
Look, I had a Cinema Dick. Now, this is the most stereotypical Cinema Dick ever. The guy that was sitting next to me was quite overweight, needed a lot of space.
Hey.
That's fine. No, like W. Like, this is a big dude. The thing is me and Georgina had found our seats, and then I went to go to the bathroom. And this guy, probably very self-aware, sat with a chair in between her and where he sat.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But he didn't know that was my seat, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to claim him as being a cinema dick. Also, it was a packed cinema. None of that is his fault. None of that is his problem.
Yeah.
The thing that was a cinema dick, like, that being said, he did take up not just my armrest, but half my seat with his arm. But the thing that was
arm.
the cinema dick...
Yeah, that's a wide arm.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, like, this dude was... Damn! But, he had...
You were Jabba Fett.
He had... Wow.
Wagabungo solo.
We're not fat shaming on this
Can you
podcast.
move over, Jordan?
Can you move over? That being said, the cinematic part of it, we've ruined Poiter. Poiter is gone.
Poiter's here for the count.
The thing that was the cinematic is he had a plastic bag full of treats, and all of them are like the loudest treats you've ever seen. First thing he pulled out, like rummaging, bag of like burgering, so I was waiting for him to finish that. Then he did, and then he scrunched it up and put it back in the bag. So he put it back in the bag. And then pulled out a bag of chips immediately after. And again, just big crinkly bag, and then smashed down some chips. And then scrunched that up, put it back in the bag again. So the whole way, and he'd had an endless amount of snacks. Pringle, you name it.
I love this dude.
Like just an endless amount, and a bottle of Coke, but somehow he couldn't drink it quietly. Like it wasn't like he.
Oh, is it the kind of thing where they go like
glug 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 glug? Yeah, it was like that the whole time.
I hate it when people make those sounds.
Wowza, that's pretty good.
It was a whole thing, yeah.
I had a fantastic cinema in this kind of big cinema, recliner chairs.
Nothing but
lots of
thin
space.
blokes. I don't know what it was.
Close
Just
it is.
thin blokes not eating food.
Yes. Thin Blokes Anonymous. Gary was there.
Gary.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gary. Thinnest
Shout out
bloke in the
to
world.
Yeah.
Okay, who would like to go for first positive thing? Anyone?
Yeah,
Can
look,
I say
Take a
hands?
stab at it.
All right, go for it. Point.
I really liked Mysterio in this film.
I took mine. Yeah, go on.
Yeah! Fucking ninja stealing your favorite.
All right, go on. Go on, bloody get it over and done with. Go
I
on.
actually really like Jake Gyllenhaal, and I thought he was perfect for the role of being that charismatic person. Like the entire film setting up for him, like the twist where he's the villain.
Yeah.
The entire time, I thought he was very charismatic. He was perfect choice, straight like out of every other Marvel film. He could have just had his own film as
sure.
Mysterio, and it would have been like, yep, this is totally right. And the entire time I was like, I swear Mysterio's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And
Right.
and it was also a really good job on Disney's part of all of their trailers. They didn't show anything from like the last half of the film, really.
I was very proud of them for that.
Yeah, and which they did they did a similar thing when on the first Star Wars movie they made, on the Star Wars Episode 7. They only showed stuff from like the first third of the movie. So after that, it was like everything was a surprise.
What is
And not a good surprise, but it was a surprise.
It was a surprise, at the least. And they did the same thing with this film. So as soon as it got to the bit where Mysterio switched, I was like, I have no idea where this film is going, and I love it.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those great moments where, in that moment, I was just like, I don't know where this film is going. Like, after then, it was like, okay, yeah, it's going like every other Marvel movie.
Yeah.
But there was that moment, it was just like, that was a magic moment of cinema. And I was just like, yes.
Angus, your biggest positive.
My biggest positive. It's hard to think of like something in the movie that I really enjoyed. Like, as I said at the start, it's very just kind of a passable film.
Yeah.
Like, everything is fine. There's nothing that I've really found
It's
bad
what you've
about
come
it
to
either.
expect from a Marvel film, and as a result,
yeah,
that's
for sure,
that. Yeah.
for sure. I mean, I liked Happy and Aunt May's thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a good bit of comic relief. And I really liked the chemistry between Zendaya and Tom Holland as MJ and Peter. Yeah. I thought it was great, and it felt. It did feel like, you know, those awkward high school years. Like, we've all been there, you know, with the...
I liked that about the film. I
remember when I was trying to propose
I liked
Zendaya.
all of the kind of the high school kind of
stuff,
like moments.
Yeah.
Because even though, like, we can't, like, feel that kind of same thing anymore because we're not in high school. We're two grown men. It's...
Oh, wait. We're two grown men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excluding himself. That's a bit weird, but it's fine. Keep going, Angus.
But it like, you can easily see that connecting with someone of a younger generation. And I think that's what I really like. I mean, the acting was phenomenal. Phenomenal in it.
Phenomenal.
Falafel.
The acting was falafel.
Yeah, the acting was a bit of a fossil.
The acting was a bit of a fossil, and then so forth.
So it's great. Spaghetti. Peter.
What?
I've got a few positives for this film that I did really like. Touching on Brody's thing, I do really like the casting for Jake Gyllenhaal because you're right, he's totally believable as just a hero. And because of that, I knew going into this film, like I knew the minute they were like, and Jake Gyllenhaal's playing Mysterio, I was like, oh, I know the twist of this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like, the big mistake they made with the marketing is even announcing that they were doing Mysterio. Because even if you don't...
Exactly, yeah.
First of all, his name, pretty freaking sinister. And then second of all, anyone who didn't know Mysterio, who Googled it, the first thing that comes up is like, Spider-Man villain, Mysterio.
Yeah.
But
And he's a pretty big villain in like the comics and everything. Like he's an
massive.
old villain as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they were going to do him. I was going to bring this up as a bit of trivia. They were going to do this in the Sam Raimi trilogy with Bruce Campbell. So Bruce Campbell is in all 3 films. He's the wrestling announcer in the first one. Then he's a snooty doorman at MJ's concert in the second one. Then he's a snooty waiter in the third one. And the idea was going to be that he was responsible for a lot of the mishaps in Peter Parker's life because he'd figured out who Spider-Man was.
Yeah,
and
right.
Spider-Man wronged him at some point. And then they just never got around to doing that.
Yeah.
Which I'm really happy about because a lot of people like, I would have loved to have seen Bruce Campbell as Mysterio. And I would have, but we didn't have the technology then to do him justice. Because in the comics, a lot of the stuff they did in this movie where he creates virtual worlds, he does that in the comics.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have worked if we tried to do that in 2004 or 2002 or whenever. But what was great is, although I knew he was going to be the villain, they tied this into, and fans will have picked this up, Earth 606, which is the actual world that the comics are based in, and the comics have dealt with multiple universes. And also, because we had the movie The Spider-Verse recently, a lot of people are open to the idea of there being multiverses.
Yeah.
So I thought, maybe this
also,
is...
Endgame. Endgame is entirely multiverses.
So, I thought maybe this is actually the concept of, we're actually going to do this properly. We'll keep Mysterio as a hero for a while, and we'll make him a villain of a different world. Or we'll keep him in 2 movies down the track, we'll do that. And they actually had me for a good first half of the film, even though my brain went, he's the villain. I was second guessing whether he was the villain the whole time. I was like, you know what? They've done such a good job of making me think this guy's a hero that maybe they know I'm waiting for this, and so they're not going to do it this movie. And the argument is then they did it, but that was a good thing for me because I still was shocked.
Yeah.
I was like, they're not going to do it. Oh my God, they're actually just going to be like, no, he's the hero this time, and maybe 2 movies down the track, he'll be the bad guy. And I would love that.
Yeah.
And because I thought that when they're like, no, he's a bad guy now, I went, whoa! So they did a perfect job of knowing what I was expecting and then subsiding that long enough to get that reaction from me. All of the stuff with Mysterio using that technology on Spider-Man, I wasn't sure how far they were going to go it because obviously there's only so much you can actually do even within the world of MCU with that technology before you have to suspend so much belief. So I didn't think they were going to be like, he's completely in a pitch black room and there's just stuff appearing around him and then there's Iron Man as a ghost and all of that. They straight up did it. And although I know that it's so far from reality now at this point, but I love that they did it.
Yeah, definitely.
Iron Man as a skeleton was awesome.
Yeah.
And there was that moment where it went really quiet and there was like Tony Stark's headstone. Yeah. Someone in the audience went, "Oh, you dick!"
Yeah,
someone said that out loud, and I was just like, "That's such a good moment."
Because that's exactly what people wanted with Scarecrow in Batman Begins.
All right, let's move on to negatives. The worst things about the film. I'm just gonna put mine out there. Mine was just kind of predictability, I guess. Yeah. Like I'm a huge Spider-Man nerd. Like I love Spider-Man. My favorite superhero since I was a kid. Since I was in the womb, in fact.
I can attest to that.
Yep.
What?
Thwat, yeah.
Thwat. The classic Spider-Man catchphrase.
Yeah. He just yells it at people.
Yeah.
Just before he punches them.
Yeah,
before he punches them into a puddle.
It was just a bit kind of predictable, especially when you found out that Mysterio was actually a bad guy. I enjoyed the way that they did it, and I didn't mind the callbacks to the other films.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, I'm not sure if that was planned or you just kind of made that up because Spider-Man wasn't owned by Marvel at the time that they put those characters in. So they're like,
they definitely just made that up for this movie. But it's
so it was like a bit of a stretch for that. But like story-wise, I think it was just safe, and it could have done well to do something like you were saying, Kane Dogs, where Mysterio was actually a good guy or something for a bit.
Yeah, jeez.
Poiter.
Yeah.
I really hated they killed off another good villain.
Yeah.
They just keep doing it.
I honestly don't think he's dead. I think he's coming back.
I totally reckon he's dead.
Okay.
Otherwise, that would have been one of the teasers that they would put in, right? Because that's just how they work. And I was just I was just so annoyed. I was just like, this is such a great idea for a villain. He's a person that they would send to the raft and he wouldn't be able to escape because he has no superpowers or whatever. But he obviously hates Spider-Man now. This is great. This is what they did with Vulture. This is what they're going to do with him. And they're going to bring it back and they're going to be that awesome moment where it's just like...
The Sinister Six type deal is going to happen.
Yeah, but it's going to be that moment where it's like one of Peter's weaknesses is that he can't kill his enemies. And it just really annoys me that Marvel's just so committed to killing villains off, kind of with no really big reason to.
They probably can't get.
They already have the idea that the raft is there. They can put someone in the raft, and they can leave them there for 10 years before they bring them back. And I feel like they're just making like a bad. That's just like a bad decision to just like, let's just get rid of these villains. For like, we're not gonna have any big reason. We're just gonna get rid of them.
Yeah.
Because like, it would just be a great moment if in like 10 years from now they're just like, oh, we have this villain. Wouldn't this be great if this villain came back and they just freed a bunch of people from the raft, and we just had a scene where there's just like these three guys from the raft come out,
and you're right,
and they just wreck shop, and there's like, that'd be an awesome moment. Oh, we can't do that because we killed off all of our fucking villains. Who the fuck is in the raft? The raft is just empty. The raft has only ever had Avengers in it, and that's it. Everyone else has been fucking killed.
That's true.
Cane Dogs.
Yeah. Okay. Look, I've got a bunch. That being said, I did still have fun with this film. Number one. What was Mysterio's long-term plan here? He's like, I'm going to invent Avengers-level threats so that I can assert myself as an Avenger, and then hopefully just nothing real happens. What? Like, what was his plan? So he asserts himself as an Avenger for Nick Fury, and then Nick Fury's like, hey, you saved the world. By the way, now there's an alien race coming. We need you on it. And he's like, oh, can't come in today. Yeah, exactly. Like, what's his plan? Once he becomes an Avenger and he doesn't actually have any powers, what's his plan?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like, there's no kind of end goal for him. He just did this stuff, and it's just like, why? Because he hated Tony Stark? Okay.
Yeah, because this brings me to my second point. I'm going to reel these off real quick, because we're going to run out of time if I talk about him too much. Another villain, even when Iron Man isn't the main character of this movie, is still just the bad guy created by Iron Man.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so first Iron Man villain, disgruntled employee that doesn't like Iron Man. Second Iron Man villain, disgruntled employee that didn't like Iron Man's parents. Third Iron Man villain, a guy that didn't like Iron Man just because he left him on a rooftop in the rain during midnight or something. Then
dramatic.
You've got Ultron, Iron Man created him. And then you've got the Vulture in Spider-Man, who is a disgruntled Iron Man employee. And then you've got this guy, who is a disgruntled Iron Man employee.
From Civil War.
Yeah. Also,
he's kind of an Iron Man.
They're
villain.
all just people that, like, every villain is just Iron Man being a dick in the past. And they're like, well, he was a dick.
Yeah.
And even this one
Tony
is
Stark,
still
my hero. No, he was kind of a dick.
kind of a dick. But even this one, it was like, I'm a disgruntled employee that worked for Tony Stark. And I'm like, that shouldn't be the formula now. The formula can't just be every guy is just someone that worked for Tony Stark and he was screwed over by Tony Stark. I'm sick of that happening. Second problem. Captain America the Winter Soldier, I take your mind back. The biggest problem there was S.H.I.E.L.D. taken over by Hyde was planning on creating a big set of ships that would hover in space, and at any point in time, you could kill anyone. And that was deemed by Captain America as being a big no-no, and the whole audience was with him because anytime you try to start a war before there's a war, innocent people die or something. And then Iron Man creates a big thing that floats in the sky that can kill anyone, and then he gives that to a kid and says, he'll probably
assassinate your classmate.
He'll figure it out.
Hollywood fucking loves drones, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, it's
So
also
good.
all video games as well. All video games, drones.
Did anybody catch the trailer for Someone Has Fallen Again? Whatever bloody...
Oh, yeah. Angel Has Fallen.
Angel Has Fallen.
Someone's fallen
So
again.
good.
Great movie title.
That's just a title where you
Someone's
took a
fallen
bunch of
again.
old people falling down old folks' homes.
There was a scene on the bridge where Peter Parker was talking to MJ, and they were in... where are
Prague.
they? Prague? Thank you. It was like Prague?
Prague.
Yeah.
They were in Prague.
The most green-screened conversation I've ever
There are
seen.
a lot of those moments, actually. There were a lot of moments between Peter Parker and...
someone else.
And MJ,
where they're all...
and there was green screen. It was like,
The
what's
reason
going on
for that
here?
is they originally had that set in a different city, but then when they went to film all of the action sequences with, I went to say Magneto, Mysterio, they couldn't film in that city, so they changed the city. So all of those conversations were just moved to a different location.
Oh, wow.
So I'm pretty sure that was meant to happen in Paris, and then they couldn't film what they needed to film for Mysterio in Paris, which is
So
why...
they actually do like reshoots.
So they just... Well, I don't even think that... I think they just went, took pictures of a bridge, and then just green screened all those conversations over. And the last one I've got is just the tone of this film is very different from the first half of the second half. The first half is full-on high school, almost romantic comedy. And because it's a comedy, all of the characters don't feel real. And that's fine. You can do entire films like that. None of the teachers feel like real teachers. None of the students felt anything more than one of those, like, another teen film kind of thing. The problem with that is then when it hits the second film and everybody's in real danger, those characters don't fit in those scenarios. You've got these teachers that are definitely not like, you don't believe them as teachers, but for the sake of comedy, you suspend that belief for the tone of the film. But then when that changes and they're in serious moments, those characters don't translate at all.
And Spider-Man's characteristics has changed quite a lot as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's very dramatic, very kind of brooding, very close to the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, I would say. It's like, there's a lot of things that are obviously weighing on his shoulders, and it's kind of gotten in the way of his... The one thing that I missed in this film was, like, the Spider-Man quips. Like, during battle, like, he'd always say stuff.
Right.
Like, even in, like, Civil War and stuff, he'd be, like, talking to the people he's fighting, like, big fan, blah, blah, blah. There wasn't any of that kind of stuff in this film either, which I really missed out on, because that's, like, one of my favourite things about Spider-Man is, like, he's always...
how he addresses serious
talking.
moments, which is to undermine them with gags, which people can relate to. Most people that deal with sadness with comedy will relate to that as a character.
Definitely. Yeah, and I feel like we missed out on that a bit in this film.
And then also, Spider-Man doesn't have his spider sense because the story wouldn't work until he needs it, and then he has it again. Anyway, those are my main negatives. There's just a lot of things that were kind of rushed, but overall, I still really liked what they did with this film.
Fair.
So, yeah.
Yeah, nice. All right. I think that brings us to a bloody close with that podcast. Mm-hmm. My Angus tingle is tingling.
Yeah, I can see that. You should really zip up. That's
sorry about that.
Put that away.
Next week, what are we going to be reviewing?
Next week, we're doing Toy Story 4. I know we missed it when it came out. There's a lot of other things we needed to do, but now we're coming back full circle to talk about some toys.
Because now there's nothing that we need to do.
There's nothing we need to do because Stuba looks real bad.
All right, Toy Story 4. Knock on the door. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Film Slice podcast.
Thank you
Anyway, bye.
very much.
That's it.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Potterman.